Hey everybody, I am here to talk about Monster Hunter Rise with fellow Monster Hunter enthusiast Ian Hank.
Woo.
Hello.
Hello.
Ian, this is kind of a weird situation because they emailed us and they were like, hey, normally we would have you come down and play the game for a preview, but the pandemic's still going on, so we thought we would send you a video that has some subtitles as commentary for it. And so I watched that video. It's about 35 minutes long, and I took a whole bunch of notes. We'll see what gets you excited here.
I'm very excited about video, so
yeah,
already good, off to a good start.
Yeah. So you go to the canteen, of course, it's Monster Hunter classic, but there's a new food type, the dango, and it kind of looks like takoyaki, and it's they're on these skewers, and there are these little balls on these skewers. And what's kind of cool about this, so in Monster Hunter you can create your own custom platters. That's what you're doing here, but it seems like they make it way more obvious which skills you're getting. So when you pick a dango, it'll be like, hey, you'll get this skill if you pick this dango, and you'll get this skill if you pick this dango, and so you can mix and match. And so It'll be a lot easier to specifically get what you want at a glance very quickly, or at least that's what it seems like in the video.
And you mix and match like 3 of them or something?
Right, exactly. I believe there was 3 in the video, and it'll tell you what the activation chance is for each dango that you have. So that's cool. Not that it was, especially difficult before, but I think a lot of the things in Monster Hunter Rise, and I think that'll be kind of like a running theme throughout all my notes, is it's they just made it more upfront, easier, more streamlined. That seems to be happening in several places, because one of the really cool things is you can use your wire bug in the village, and you can ride your palamute around the village, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And so at one point in the video, the player that we're seeing is kind of waiting for everybody else, all of his other party members. He just wire bugs up on top of the building and chills out. And so it seems not only will the zones that you're exploring in Rise be vertical places that you can poke around in, you can do that in the village as well, which is pretty cool.
That's nice. I like to have that consistency of mobility throughout the whole game. Makes it feel more cohesive for sure.
Right, yeah, it's always nice because there's so many games where it's I just can't do this thing here that I can do everywhere else for no logical reason. Yeah, definitely. So also before, there is a training area, but the hype thing here is like a fighting game. You have this big training dummy, and you can set it to different parameters, so you can practice different things. So I want to get better at dodging projectile attacks. You can make it so it's spitting stuff at you, and you can dodge it, which is really cool. So I think training will be even more useful, and your other party members can come in and train with you, which is really neat.
Previously training in these games always just feels like button check room, kind of.
Yeah, it's I feel the way that I used training in World, it was all right, this is the first time I've used this weapon ever. Let me, practice a little bit. But I think, based on what they're showing in Rise, I think training will be even more practical. I don't know all of the options that will be available in training mode. The fact that you have these sorts of options, I think, is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
The animations in this game are really great. So after you complete quests, you can hire different buddies, right? So you can hire different palamutes and palicos, and different palicos have different things that they can do. And the animation, there's this this wall scroll on this tree, and when you summon a new palamute, it just pops out of the tree, and it's hello. So there's a lot of personality in the things that you're doing. Think Canteen animations and that sort of thing. Not necessarily new, but definitely carried over, which is cool.
Important stuff,
right?
For sure.
Right. Very important. Some of the subtitles were so funny, like clearly translated from Japanese, like because one of the characters that they highlighted was, and this is the note as I wrote it. Hub Maiden Minoto may seem cold, but is kind and has a weakness for smiles.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Important stuff.
Yeah.
Very good to know.
When you're in the village, you can pet, shake the dog's paw, the Palamute's paw, and give a treat to your Palamute, which is great. The Tetranodon is a new monster in Rise. You saw it before, kind of like that big, like, duck platypus-looking thing.
Yeah.
What's cool about this is it'll have different behaviors depending on the shape of its body, and the words that they used were slim or plump, which I thought was good. And I think I mentioned this when we were streaming the Monster Hunter Rise demo, but I love now that when you wirebug, you can throw barrel bombs down. It just gives them so much more utility, which is really cool. You can send likes to a hunter after a quest, which is really interesting because the other thing that it said is it will make them more easy to find in the lobby. And it didn't really show that, but I like that idea of being like, oh, this person really knows what they're doing. It'll be easy for us to partner up with each other.
So what you're telling me, Ben, is that this is a Strand game.
Yeah. Monster Hunter is kind of a Strand game.
It kind of is a Strand game.
Even beyond the meme, yeah. The weapon tree, so like the upgrading, looked very, very, very similar to World. Almost identical in terms of just layout and stuff.
Okay, that's cool.
Something that they didn't subtitle, but I kind of noticed just as I was watching the footage, is in the village, like speech bubbles will appear over different NPCs, and it seemed like it was just like alerting you to stuff, like, hey, that thing you ordered is in, or hey, I have something that I want you to do, and that is really, really neat. And again, like just kind of going back to the like making it easier to process this information or just streamlining a certain aspect, that kind of thing. The other thing that I thought was really awesome, kind of bouncing off that streamline aspect that I was talking about, is apparently you can complete deliveries mid-quests. So, like, once you just... Yeah, and again, I'm not sure... Like, I didn't actually get my hands on it, so I was just kind of going off the information that they gave me. But they just picked something up, and they were like, yeah, you can complete deliveries while you're out on a quest. So that'll just, cut out, like, having to do that when you're back at the village, it seems like, which is really neat. They showed another new monster at the end, the Bishuten, and this monster is really, really cool. It's kind of like this sort of monkey-esque monster, and it will, like, it has this long tail, and what it will do is it will balance on its tail, like an S, and it will, like it'll kind of, it looks like it's almost about to, like, pogo off of it. And, again... These notes that they had, it said it enjoys playing tricks on people, and it will store persimmons in its stomach and then hurl them at you.
Whoa! Yeah,
which is really cool.
I mean, we've all done it. So
right, yeah. Who doesn't store persimmons in their stomach? The endemic life. So a lot of the endemic life that we've seen are like you get buffs from them, or you can use them to help you in some way. But they were showing off this endemic life called Giganas, and they're piranhas basically. And you were like, they were hunting the Bishuten in kind of this flooded area, and the piranhas were like jumping out of the water, and they were like, hey, this will hurt both the monster and it will hurt hunters, so you have to kind of be aware of it. And I love that idea of having these other creatures. Which, you have small monsters and things already, but just like an extra sort of trap that you have to worry about in the world is really cool.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see if you can like employ those strategically at all.
Yeah.
Like, drive the monster into a pack of these things or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I think that that's entirely the point, or at least the way
Yeah.
I feel like they're setting it up is to use it like traps. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Where they were hunting the Bisheten is the flooded forest, which was first introduced in Monster Hunter Tri. And so it's kind of cool that you're getting this area that was introduced in an earlier game, but now like your movement mechanics are totally different, right? Which is just a neat little thing, I thought. Neat little note.
I like the sound of flooded forest. I haven't ventured to that before.
I noticed, like, kind of just as they were fighting, like, it was about to do it. The Bisheten was about to do a charge move, and one of the other party members, like, their character was like, "Here it comes," and so to me that was kind of implying that like maybe they'll call out certain things to make it a little bit easier to read. And then you have sort of like a sensei character that was like, "Hey, you need to use a whetstone." They were only doing a 2-star quest, so I imagine that like as you get further
That
along,
probably stops.
Yeah.
It's nice though, like to smooth out that learning curve.
Right.
A little bit.
Right. Totally. So in the Bisheten fight, it was kind of neat because it started like in the middle of the day, and then it got into dusk, and then it became night. And so I just really love that like sense of progression as you're hunting. That kind of thing is always cool. They had, in the middle of the hunt, they had a Royal Ludroth show up and a Great Rogi, and so you had like 3 monsters right there. It was very chaotic, and I always loved that. I always loved the monsters interacting, and I think when you mix that in with the Endemic life, you just have like an environment that feels very natural and lived in. You know, it's not just like an arena for you to fight this one monster, which is cool.
For sure.
Another thing that was cool is one of the monsters you could... Oh, it was the Great Rogi. When you Wyvern Ride it, it has a poison attack, and so you can Wyvern Ride it to inflict that status effect on another monster. And so
cool.
that'll be really neat, and it like might play into the strategy of what you choose to Wyvern Ride, because whatever monster you're riding, like, oh, like maybe it won't just do a lot of damage, maybe it will also poison it or some other sort of status effect, which is really neat. It seemed like, so the persimmons that the Bisheten was throwing out, it looked like they had the shinies on them, so it looked like maybe you could pick them up. I don't exactly know what they do, but just another little note. But those are kind of the major things that I had from the 35-minute video. Is there any questions that you had?
Oh man, just like I'm just super excited for it.
Yeah.
Not a question, just excited.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think beyond a lot of the things that I pointed out, I was just watching it and I was like, yeah, this looks great. The demo is great. I can't wait.
Yeah.
This is going to be the longest month of my life. I think the thing that's cool, though, is it's not like I'm just excited for, like, the wire bug or the wyvern riding. It's like I'm excited for how the weapons are changing with Silkbind attacks. So I feel like the weapons are going to be super new and fresh. I'm excited for this brand new village that has all these new things that you can do in it. The new monsters that they're showing, like, are not boring at all. I mean, this giant sort of monkey-esque creature that's throwing persimmons at you. Like, that's a pretty fun, creative idea, you know? It's not just, like, another dragon. So, I don't know.
That to me is some of the most exciting stuff about Rise, because I love World, and I played a little bit of, was it Generations, the one that they re-released on the Switch?
So that was Generations Ultimate, basically
Right.
a like enhanced version of Generations.
Right, and like that felt like going back in time like a lot versus World, you know? And playing the demo for this one, it feels like the best combination of everything so far, where it's like they've taken all the things you like, they've kept the streamlining without sacrificing that feel, and they're adding all this new stuff, like the Silkbind stuff and the Wyvern riding. And so it just really seems like it's going to be kind of the I don't know. I hesitate to say the best Monster Hunter so far, but
Right. Well,
I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's interesting because in a game like Monster Hunter, I feel like, and this happens with fighting games as well, like unlike I feel like single player games where it's like, okay, you're there for the story and you're there for, like, the mechanics just need to facilitate how much fun you're having in that first playthrough. Right. Like, Monster Hunter is sort of like, you have that initial impression, but it's a game that's meant to be played over and over and over again. And it's like, well, how well do these things hold up over time? Like, are they initially fun, but then, you know, they make things too easy? So it's hard to know. It's hard to have, like, a definitive opinion without, like, months playing it, I feel like. But to kind of bounce off your point, what you were saying about, like, world and worrying that, like, it was going to feel like a Monster Hunter that maybe you weren't as fond of, I'm also happy that it's not just, like, a watered-down version of World, where it's like, yeah, World was really successful, let's just do that again, but, you know, on the Switch, it doesn't feel like that. It definitely feels like it has its own ideas and therefore its own identity, which is cool.
I think that's a much more succinct way of saying what I was trying to say. Exactly, yes. They could have just done it again, and they didn't. They're doing something interesting with it.
Totally. I am most excited to hunt with you guys. Just laugh and slay beasts.
It's going to be fun. The demo multiplayer worked fairly well for the most part, if you didn't have a lot of friends on Switch. Yeah,
they said that would not be a problem at launch, which is nice. But how smooth it was for me, not just with you guys, but with other people that I played with, it gives me a lot of confidence that it'll be all right.
I had zero issues, yeah. Of course, I don't have any friends, so.
I don't either. I didn't have the problem of the
It's paying off.
But thank you so much, Ian, for sitting down and chatting with me.
Yeah, anytime.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.